Here are 7 reasons why you should be careful when getting into partnership. All right, so let's talk about partnerships. You probably heard that they're a great way to bring together resources and skill, right? But here's the thing, when one partner is out there grinding, running the day-to-day operation, and the other is just sitting back providing cash, things can get messy real quick. Yeah, it sounds like an easy way to get funding, but trust me, this kind of setup often leads to some serious headaches. We're talking imbalance, conflicts, and just plain inefficiencies. In this video, I'm going to argue why these kind of partnerships might not be the best idea. Think about it. When one person's doing all the work and the other is just there for the financial ride, it's easy for things to get out of sync. Misaligned incentives, unequal contributions, and a shaky foundation can all lead to some major drama. So let's dive into why these partnerships might not be worth the trouble. All right, let's talk about one of the biggest problems with these kind of partnerships: imbalanced workload and resentment. Here's the deal: when one partner's out there grinding, putting in all the time, effort, and emotional energy, while the other partner's just kicking back and providing the cash, things can get ugly. Imagine this: you're the one working 80 hours a week, running the show, dealing with all the stress, and your partner, they're just there. Maybe they show up for the occasional meeting, but mostly they're hands off. Meanwhile, it's time to split the profits. They're taking their 50% just like you. How would that make you feel? Undervalued, frustrated? Yeah, I'd be salty too. Over time, this kind of imbalance can lead to some serious resentment. You start feeling like you aren't being recognized, and once the resentment sets in, it's like a slow poison. Trust will start to erode, collaborations break down, and before you know it, the whole partnership is on shaky ground. So, yeah, imbalanced workload, they're not just annoying, they straight up ruin partnerships. Now, another big issue with these kind of partnerships is decision making disconnects. Here's the thing: partners might not be involved in the day to day grind, but guess what? They often will have a say in big decisions, and that can be a major problem. Picture this: you're running a restaurant, right? And you're in the trenches every day dealing with customers, managing staff, making sure everything's running smooth. But then your partner, who hasn't set foot in the kitchen in months, decides it's time to cut costs. They're like, hey, let's swap out those high quality ingredients for cheapest stuff to boost profit. Sounds good on paper, right? But in reality, it's a disaster waiting to happen. And I can give my personal example. Anytime I'm a regular at a restaurant, I can easily tell when they have either changed their chef or they've changed some of the ingredients, because you can taste the difference. You know that cutting corners on quality is going to hurt your restaurant's reputation. But your partner, they're not seeing the bigger picture because they're not in the kitchen with you. So now you've got this clash on your hands on experience versus their spreadsheet logic. And that friction, it doesn't just create tensions, it can actually harm the business. So, yeah, when making decisions, get disconnected from the day to day reality, it's a recipe for conflict. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't really get enough attention in these partnerships: it's the financial and emotional risks. Here's the deal: when you're the active partner, your whole life basically revolves around the business, your income, your time, your energy. It's all tied up in the making this thing work. But for your partner, it's mostly just about the money. So, what happens if things go south, if the business fails? The partner takes a financial hit. Sure, but they can walk away. For you, it's a whole different story. You're not just losing money, you're facing financial ruin plus the emotional toll of all the time and effort you poured into the business. It's like losing a part of yourself. And here's when it gets messy. When crisis hits, your priorities are going to be totally different. You're fighting to keep business alive while your partner might be looking at the nearest exit to recoup their investment. That kind of asymmetry can make negotiations during tough times super tense and complicated. So, yeah, the financial and emotional risk for the active partner, they're huge. And when things go wrong, it's not just about the money, it's about everything you've invested in making this business work. Another major headache in these partnerships is equity and profit sharing. Oh man, this one's a doozy. When it comes to splitting profits, things can get real messy real fast. Here's the scenario: you're the one putting in all the work, long hours, late nights, and a ton of stress. Meanwhile, your partner is just sitting back waiting for their cut. So when it's time to divide the profits, it's an equal split. Feels kind of unfair, right? Why should they get half when you're doing all the heavy lifting? But here's the kicker: try to negotiate the terms halfway through the partnership. That's a whole other level of awkward. It's like, hey, remember that deal we made? Yeah, about that. Begin the tensions. Sure, you might start with clear agreement, but as the business grows and changes, so do the expectations. Maybe the partners start demanding a bigger slice of the pie during the growth phase. Suddenly, what seemed like a solid deal is now a constant source of bickering and instability. So, yeah, profit sharing, it's a minefield. And when the contributions aren't balanced, it's easy to for resentment to build and for the partnership to start falling apart. Now, let's dive into another big issue that can totally derail these partnerships: strategic misalignment and growth challenges. This one's all about clashing visions for the future of the business, and trust me, it will get messy. Picture this: you're an active partner, right? You're all about reinvesting profits to grow the business long term. You got big dreams, maybe you scaling up the restaurant chain, but your partner, they're looking at the bottom line and thinking, where's my payout? They want dividends and they want them now. So now you've got this tug of war and you're pushing for growth, innovation, long term success while they're pulling for quick returns. And guess what? That kind of strategic clash can totally stall progress. It's like trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and on the brake. Take tech startups, for example. Founders often want to keep pushing the envelope, innovating and building something amazing, but investors, they might be pressured for a quick exit, like selling the company or going public so they can cash out. And when these goals don't align, it creates a ton of tension and slows everything down. So, yeah, when you and your partner aren't on the same page about where the business is heading, it's a recipe for frustration and stagnation. Now, this is something that does not get a lot of attention: legal and exit complications. Yeah, I know it sounds dry, but trust me, this is where things get really messy in partnerships. Ask yourself this: if you've ever thought of getting into a partnership, did you think of an exit strategy? Here's the deal: if you don't have a rock solid legal framework in place from the start, you're setting yourself up for a world of trouble. Imagine your partner decides to bail out of nowhere. Now you're stuck trying to buy their shares or scramble to find new funding, all while trying to keep the business running. It's like trying to fix a flat tire while the car is moving. Not fun. And let's not even get started on the legal disputes. If things go south, you could end up in a nasty battle over roles, responsibilities, or profit shares. Those kind of fights don't just drain your bank account, they suck up your time and energy, pulling your focus away from actually running the business. So, yeah, without clear agreements, partnership can turn into a liability nightmare. It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. Sooner or later, things are going to start cracking. Now, what's the alternative? Let's take a step back for a second. I've been very critical of the partnership agreement, right? But I get it. There's some arguments in their favor, so let's talk about counter arguments and alternatives. First off, yeah, partners can bring in some serious cash for a lot of businesses. That capital is the difference between getting off the ground and staying stuck in the idea phase. Without that funding, some ventures won't happen. I get that. But here's the thing: there's always other ways to get the money without tying yourself to a partner. Think of loans, or for examples, yeah, you gotta pay them back, but at least you're not sharing control of your business. Or what about equity stakes without partnership rights? That way, investors can get a piece of the pie, but they don't get to say how you run your business. There are even more creative options for restaurants where you can lease to own or profit share agreements. These let investors benefit from your success without stepping into your day to day operations. It's like having a cake and eating it too. You get the funding you need, but you keep your autonomy. So, yeah, while partners can be quick fix for funding, there are other paths that might save you a lot of headache down the road. So if you're looking to get a restaurant for a business in the Lower Mainland, give me a call because it's stressful enough to find a place, but even more to negotiate on these prices. All right, let's wrap this up. So here's the bottom line. When bringing in a partner might seem like a quick and easy way to get funding, the reality is that these partnerships often come with some serious downsides. The imbalanced workload, decision making, and the risk can lead to a whole lot of dysfunction. Resentment builds, bad decisions get made, and the rewards often feel super unfair. But here's the good news: there are other ways to get the money you need without sacrificing control or sanity, whether it's through loans, equity stakes, without partnership rights, or creative profit sharing agreements. There are options out there that let you keep your autonomy while you're getting the financial support you need. At the end of the day, it's all about balance. In business, just like in relationships, both parties are putting in the effort and sharing the load. That's when you find harmony and success. So before you jump into partnership with an investor, take a step back and think about whether there's a better way to find to fund your dreams. Thanks for sticking around with me through this. I hope I gave you some food for thought. If you got your own experiences or thoughts on partnership, drop them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more real talk. Catch you in the next video.